Hey, welcome back to another episode of Finding Freedom. This is your host, John Odermatt. On today's show, we're going to be talking about conspiracy theorists and the rise of the professional conspiracy theorists. We'll be talking about the newest developments with Charlie Kirk's murder, his assassination, and asking, does he have bones of steel? And we'll be talking about Erika Kirk and the powerful speech she gave at her husband Charlie's memorial service. Let's get into it.
We are born free, and we will die free. The time in between, though, that's complicated. In that time, governments, institutions, and our egos will limit our ability to find true freedom in this life. These are real stories of real people overcoming the odds, persevering in justice, and unlocking their potential. Welcome to Finding Freedom. Here's your host, John Odermatt.
Hey, what is up, everybody? Good to be back with you today on this fine September Monday morning. Coming to you on September 22nd, not streaming live today, but I'll be publishing this everywhere as soon as I finish up. Of course, I got my cup of Fox & Sons coffee in hand. It's my coffee of choice. It's the coffee I drink every single morning to start my day. You can get yourself some Fox & Sons coffee by going to foxandsons.com. That's FOXNSONS.com and putting promo code John in at checkout to get 15% off an order of $40 or more. So go pick up some Fox & Sons coffee as I grab myself a sip right now. Okay, so today on the show, got a couple things to talk about. I do have a hard stop, so this will not be a long show. Last week I said it wouldn't be, and it was. This week I will stick to my word. So if you heard at the top of the show, the things I want to talk about, first off, I think something I've noticed lately, and what I'm calling it, is the rise of the professional conspiracy theorist. And this has been very, very evident to me over the course of the past 10, 11 days here in the wake of the Charlie Kirk assassination. And it became overwhelming to me yesterday to the point that, honestly, it had an impact on my day. Didn't ruin my day, but it had me in a bad mood for a small portion of the day, seeing just the reaction on Twitter to an article where Charlie Kirk's surgeon had referred to Charlie Kirk having bones of steel, and that being the reason why the bullet, there was no exit wound, and the bullet was not found. Right? Called it a miracle that nobody behind him was injured. And I'm going to get into talking about that later, but I do just want to focus on what I'm referring to as professional conspiracy theorists. Now, I'm not going to name names here. I think you can all figure out the types of people and the individuals who I'm talking about when I say professional conspiracy theorists. These are the people who, as soon as an event happens, they don't give any time. They leave no time for actual reporting of any kind. I'm not talking about mainstream reporting. I'm talking about they don't wait for any information to come out for people to learn anything. They automatically jump on a preset narrative and start gathering evidence in order to fit that narrative. Now, there are a lot of people out there on Twitter who use this model in order to monetize Twitter, in order to create content to monetize. They are professional conspiracy theorists. And, you know, it's interesting when you look at it, you start to ask yourself, okay, so why has there been a rise of these professional conspiracy theorists? We could call them PCTs. Why do we have a rise of PCTs out there? Well, it's because there's no trust in our institutions anymore. And, you know, you can think what you want about that. You can like that. You can not like that. It really doesn't matter. It's a fact. When it comes to the younger generation, when it comes to people, you know, especially really anyone below the age of, I'd say 45, maybe 50, um, really does not trust institutions. And the younger you skew in that, you skew like 30 and younger, there's zero trust in our institutions because they've seen what's happened, especially over the past several years. And those of us who are in our 40s, I mean, we have even more of a body of work to go on with, so-called experts lying to us, be it during the Iraq war, be it, after 9/11, be it more recently with COVID and the origins of COVID and mask use during COVID, and then the jab with COVID. So there's a large body of work with institutions lying to us, and that's happened. That's a real thing. I'm not saying. I'm saying that's definitely a real thing we need to take into account. So, with that said, that doesn't mean that everything that we hear in relation to an official story after an event occurs, like it did, 11 days ago or 12 days ago with Charlie Kirk being assassinated, we don't have to assume that everything that comes out is not true. I think that is a very dangerous way to operate in life. Now, it's good to be skeptical. It's good to ask questions. But what I would advise people to do is don't immediately jump on board what the PCTs, the professional conspiracy theorists, are saying. They obviously have a vested interest in their narrative that they're setting up right away and gathering evidence to fortify. So rather than, and sometimes they're going to be right. I'm not saying they're always wrong, but anytime you have someone who, as soon as something happens, they come forward with who they think is responsible, and then they start to cherry pick their data and their evidence in order to fortify that opinion, that's a recipe for someone who is going to lie to you. So, who do you look for? Who do you look to in the aftermath of an event, of a tragedy, of a of a earth shaking event? Who do you look to? Well, I think the first thing is you look to yourself and you ask yourself questions. Um, and you yourself, you look for information in different places. Don't get in a habit where when something happens, you automatically go to someone else to see what they said about it. So as human beings, we have to be very careful of that because, and this goes with me, this goes with everybody, that a lot of the times if something happens politically or something happens in the media landscape or even the sports world, as human beings, we are used to having opinions assigned to us, and we get used to going to the same media outlets, the same personalities, the same podcasts, the same talking heads. For those of you who came here to hear my opinions, I'm going to tell you, you can listen, but take them with a grain of salt. Do your own research and think about things, think through things critically, logically on your own. Because as human beings, we are conditioned to have our opinions assigned to us. And then once we get going down a certain train of thought, a certain way of thinking, we just continue to look for things and look for viewpoints that continue to fit that lens, that political lens, that media lens, to the way that we view the world. And I've seen this happen in my life. I've seen this happen with me personally and many other people. I would say in the liberty movement, the Libertarian Party, as you get in a habit of viewing the world a certain way, of fitting things inside the Austrian economics, inside the free market, the on the 9x5 index card of allowable libertarian principles, libertarian opinions. So we end up kind of doing the reverse of what the great Tom Woods taught us to do. That's what a lot of libertarians fell into. That's just an example that really has nothing to do with what the professional conspiracy theorists and PCTs are saying today about Charlie Kirk. And what kind of fueled yesterday and what kind of almost ruined my day yesterday was the surgeon for Charlie Kirk came out and said that it's amazing. I think he might have even used the word miraculous that nobody else was killed or injured in the assassination of Charlie Kirk because I think the surgeon said because the bone, Charlie Kirk's bone, was able to stop the bullet. And refer to it in some way, bones of steel. That is, his bones were so strong that they stopped a bullet. Now, I think this was a incredibly irresponsible thing for this surgeon to say because while it may not be common, it certainly does happen. And what this set off on X yesterday was everybody and their mother overnight became a ballistics expert. And everybody was saying the the gun that allegedly was used in the Charlie Kirk assassination was a 30-06, which happens to be the same rifle that I use for deer hunting. So I know quite a bit about it. Now, people were saying that okay, there is no way that 30-06 ammunition that bullet would not have just gone through because this is such a large projectile, much larger, for example, than a 223, which is famously used in many different types of assault rifles. But what really set me off was people posting things, having no idea what they're talking about, in order to back up an opinion that the entire story, the entire thing, is didn't happen the way that experts have said it happened. I've said it happened. Now, I'm not saying that I fully buy into the official story. I think there's a lot of questions around it, but for people to say it's not possible for a 30-06 to perform in the way that it did in the Charlie Kirk assassination, it absolutely is possible. Now, this is not something I like to talk about with regards to a human being losing their life. I will say this, if there's small children listening or large children who don't want to hear, or adults who just don't want to hear this, I would say, maybe skip forward a few minutes on the podcast if you don't want to hear this, because it's something that I don't like talking about when it comes to the loss of a human life. But I'm also going to be talking about my experience in deer hunting to give you kind of a backdrop in how a 30-06 can perform. So I saw a lot of people posting on X, visuals of a steel plate and a 30-06, ammunition, leaving a huge dent in a steel plate. And yes, that's true. I mean, there's questions that come into mind exactly when you see something like that. You want to ask, okay, what was the grain, the weight of that bullet? What type of tip was it? Was it a soft tip or was it a full metal jacket? A full metal jacket is made more to penetrate and stay together, stay intact, and penetrate through through the target. They're used more in target practice, so likely if you're looking on a steel target, likely was a full metal jacket. A soft tip, on the other hand, it's what I use for hunting. It's designed to kill the animal, the deer. I use it for deer hunting that you're hunting. So it's designed to, when on impact, that energy is spread out, and the idea is that you kill the animal instantly because it's spread out and it doesn't just pass right through, maybe with a lot less damage to tissue and organs and bones and things like that. So a lot of experts on Twitter who just want to when they heard his surgeon say that, which I think what the surgeon said was an irresponsible way to put it, because I don't think that was a miracle. I think what it was just something that sometimes happens with this type of ammunition. And I don't think that the bullet not passing through and not having an exit wound is a reason to think that, oh, this story should be thrown out this guy wasn't the shooter. It was a different type of ammunition. Maybe, it was somebody in a different spot that shot, and this is a conspiracy. Israel did it. All these different things. These are the things you hear from the professional conspiracy theorists from the PCTs. What I will say is I've been hunting almost my whole life. I've been using a 30-06 for the majority of that time. I've killed more deer than I can even count or remember, I should say. I'm sure I can count that high. I'm not an idiot. But um, on many occasions, I mean, not the majority, but more than, I think on Twitter I said 2, but it's probably more than that. It's probably like 5, 6, or 7 times. There was no exit wound on the deer, meaning the bullet stayed lodged somewhere within the animal. In fact, just last year, and I remember this because it would never happen to me before, I shot a deer, went down. After I shot it, I will say, sometimes this happens, it ran about 50 yards and then went down. People wonder, like, how can that happen? Or they'll say, like, how was Charlie not when he was shot? How was he not blown off the seat he was sitting on? Just things are. I mean, people think like it's movies. I guess, and they don't understand that there's so many variables at play when you look at things like this. I'll get to more variables later with how the bullet, and I'm speculating because I haven't heard anything on it. Maybe potentially could have been hand loaded, but we'll get into that in a minute. So last year I shot a deer, ran 50 yards, went up, gutted it. Me and my buddies got it out of the woods, hung it up, and started to skin it. And as I was skinning it, the bullet fell out. It was wedged between the hide and the skin. So likely what happened is probably, and I think if I'm remembering, this is a year ago. I think what it did is it hit the shoulder, the clavicle on the shoulder, ricocheted up, and just losing speed there. And it's a soft tip, so the energy is expanding in the flesh. It's slowed down enough that it never exited and got caught got stuck in the hide. So that happens. Now, the people on X who are saying this is impossible, this could never happen with this type of ammunition, it passes right through. If you're talking about a full metal jacket, I would say most likely, yes. Probably 99% of the time that would happen, unless it's some crazy fluke, which I don't rule anything out. So I think it's going to be important to find out, what was this? Was this a soft tip? Was this a full metal jacket? What was the grain of the bullet? How old were the bullets? Were these hand loaded? Was this hand loaded ammunition or was it factory ammunition? Now, the reason I asked that was the shooter, the kid, I'm not going to say his name. This was his grandfather's gun, right? Old people like to hand load ammunition. I think it's probably a fair chance this was hand loaded ammunition. Now, this was a vintage gun, a untraceable gun, and that's a whole nother conversation we'll talk about in a minute that has people going nuts. If it's hand loaded, we're never going to have answers, because it's just up to the grandfather, whoever was doing the hand loading. You don't know. You can't go back and figure out, exactly what the composition of the bullet was, and exactly how much powder was in there and all that stuff. You just can't know. So that's a question that needs answered. Now, they allegedly recovered this gun. It had some rounds in the clip there. So it'll be interesting to see, or in the magazine, I should say, it'll be interesting to see what comes from that. Now, if they never talk about that and we never get answers to that, I'm going to have a lot of questions. Now, the people I look to for answers with stuff like this, I look to people who understand ballistics, understand rifles, and specifically understand that type of ammunition. Because there's people on Twitter who I was interacting with yesterday who know a lot more about guns than I do, but maybe don't understand this type of ammunition. maybe have never been hunting, maybe never have firsthand experience seeing something like this happen where there isn't an exit wound. So the people that are saying on Twitter, and I've replied to more, I've lost track how many I replied to, say it's impossible. There has to be an exit wound. No, it's not. It is not impossible at all. It is very possible, especially with a soft tip. With a soft tip, maybe it's as high as like a 20% chance that you wouldn't have an exit. Now, this doesn't even factor in. I don't think there's been an official, at least I haven't. I've heard contradictory claims that he was wearing a bulletproof vest or he wasn't. But still, even if he wasn't and it didn't hit the vest or clip the top of the vest if he was, all of those things factor in. So there's a lot of questions to ask. It's okay to ask questions. Love it. I think it's great that people are asking questions. What I can't stand is the people on Twitter fueled by these PCT professional conspiracy theorists who are saying this is impossible, this story isn't true, and they have no idea what they're talking about. Don't spout the ideas of someone else, a professional conspiracy theorist, when they have no idea what they're talking about and you have no idea what you're talking about. Why don't you look to people who have at least a little idea what they're talking about before you spout off? So I won't go any more into that. That's kind of like I was just so frustrated with that yesterday. And I did, have some good interactions with people who had similar experiences to me, who understood that this definitely was possible. Now, I think the fault here is from the PCTs, also from the surgeon in the way that he worded things. Should not have worded it that way. Should not have said Charlie Kirk had bones of steel. Just regular bones can happen with regular bones. So, okay. The last thing I want to talk about, like I said, it's going to be a short show today, is the memorial for Charlie Kirk yesterday. And specifically, I haven't watched everything. I've seen clips. I saw that Elon and Trump shook hands, had some words. So I guess that's a good thing. I don't know. A lot of people there, a lot of celebrities there. I thought it was a little bit strange seeing people taking selfies and, I don't know, going to a funeral, going to a memorial service, taking selfies, making reels. It's just a little cringy to me. I think it's kind of weird. Um, I understand, I kind of understand, in a way, if they do it in a tasteful way where it's a picture of, maybe them just, saying that they're here for their friend Charlie and, maybe a tribute. But like doing a live or a reel and kind of yucking it up with other people there, it's weird. It's weird. Maybe that's. I'm not saying they have bad intentions. Just saying it comes off a little strange. But I haven't watched everything with regards to it. I saw some clips from Trump. I saw some good clips from Tucker Carlson. I'm not going to talk about those today. I just want to focus for a few minutes on Erika Kirk. And I just got to say, totally impressed with her. And one more thing on the PCTs. When she was voted by the Turning Point board to be the CEO, I saw some people who are locked into this PCT mentality, that, oh man, how could this happen so quickly that she's put in place? This was designed ahead of time. It's like, you got to be out of your mind, man. This is so normal for an organization the size of Turning Point to have a succession plan in place. This is what organizations have to do. You have to have a succession plan in place. Otherwise, your organization falls apart. Otherwise, you can't raise money. Donors aren't going to give millions of dollars to an organization like Turning Point if you don't have a succession plan in place, if you don't have insurance, if you don't have these different things, because it shows you don't know what you're doing. So people who question oh, how was she made the CEO so quickly? Because that's what you do. It's just normal. It's crazy to me that I can't take it. Like, these PCTs have set me off. But back to Erika Kirk, amazing. One of the greatest speeches I've ever seen. How she kept her composure. It's only through her relationship with Jesus she was able to do that. You could see her when she walked up there and the music's playing and the crowd is, embracing her, cheering for her. and she's just praying. She's just praying, and it's got God bless her. What a strong woman of faith, and it was a beautiful speech, a beautiful tribute to Charlie, talking about their marriage, him as a husband and as a father. You know, every week he would write a love letter um, to Erica. I thought it was amazing. I think it's something that a lot of husbands, myself included, can definitely learn a lot from. Um, I got choked up at the one point when she was talking about um, Charlie, who had a speech. I think she said a year ago or a few months before had referenced Isaiah 6:8 in saying, um, you know, "Here I am, Lord, send me, use me." And she was saying that he speaks off the cuff. She didn't know he was going to say that, and she said to him after, "I mean, you got to tell me about stuff like that." Probably saying that it's something we should be praying about together, because when you say something like that, and Charlie meant it, I'm sure, um, giving yourself over to God, saying, "Use me," and I mean, God, make no mistake about it. Charlie is passed on. He's in heaven now, but he is being used right now in the most powerful way maybe I've ever seen a Christian be used. So it's really amazing to see. So that choked me up, and "Here I am, Lord." That's one of my favorite hymns. I grew up in the Presbyterian church. Not a Presbyterian anymore, but that's one that's played at a lot of services. Also played at funerals, and um, especially at, like, important moments in life. Also, communion, or God, what's the word I'm looking for? Not communion. Um, anyway, it's not coming to my mind. Anyway, it's just a song that means a lot to me, and I thought it was really cool that she brought that up. And I think it just a lot of people who maybe aren't Christians, they look at Erika Kirk and they probably think like, wow, how does she have this much composure? How does she have it together? How is she so rock steady? And 100%, it's her relationship with Jesus. So as a Christian, that's something I look at, and I'm like, that is something to emulate. That's something that I want. That's something that I want to exude. That's something that I want to show. So I think just such a testimony to her faith. And then towards the end, when she said that she forgives her husband's murderer, just incredible. And I've seen some people push back on that, being like, "How can you forgive him so quickly?" And that forgiveness, as Christians, we are to forgive others because Christ forgives us for our sins. We are all sinners in this world, right? And we're born into sin. And if we can't forgive others, then we can't fully understand. We can't fully recognize and appreciate Christ's forgiveness of us. So, I mean, it's something that I struggle with every day, is forgiveness of others. I think it's definitely a testimony to her faith that she was able to say that she forgives the shooter, forgives her husband's murderer. Now, I think with forgiveness, it's important to remember forgiveness does not mean that it's being forgotten. Forgiveness does not mean that justice will not be served. So I've seen people say that, like, "Oh, what? She doesn't think that he should be punished, the murderer." No, she's not saying that. She's saying that she forgives him, and she's probably praying. I'm sure that a lot of people are praying, and I mean, this blows the mind of people who are not believers, that you would pray for the murderer to find Jesus, seek forgiveness, and then someday be in heaven. And I'm sure that I'm not sure, but that probably is likely something that Erika Kirk and, you know, Charlie's people close to Charlie are praying, which for people who are not Christians, that's kind of hard to wrap your mind around. But we are all sinners. We all fall short of the glory of God. And the only way that we are saved is through Christ sacrificing himself on the cross. God in the flesh coming down into the muck of this world, living with us and giving his life so that we can have him living inside us on this earth through his Holy Spirit, but also when we pass to the other side, have eternal life. So it's just been wild, man. It's been a crazy 12 days. It's had a you can probably tell it's had a profound effect on me. It's had a profound effect on a lot of people. So I will kind of leave this where I left it last week. I have an open door policy here. Anybody wants to talk to me about anything, you can reach me, John at lionsofliberty.com or at John Odermatt on Twitter and Instagram. I'm on Facebook too. You can track me down there just by searching my name. But tell you what, guys, I was a little feisty at the beginning with the professional conspiracy theorists. I just really want to drill home that you all need to be skeptical of everything, right? We got to be skeptical of the story, official story, ask questions. We got to be skeptical of the professional conspiracy theorists too, because they have an agenda. They have a bias also, especially when money's involved, guys. There's money involved in everything. And professional conspiracy theorists, they're getting paid off of their conspiracies. So of course they have an incentive to massage the truth, to find the facts that fit their narrative. So keep that in mind. Thank you for listening. I got a couple of really good interviews lined up. You guys are really going to like this. I know it's been 2 weeks of me back to back. If you don't like that, whatever. If you do, great. I think I said at the beginning of the year I wanted to do like every 6 weeks, do a solo episode. So you got back to back in another 6 weeks or so. You get another one of me. In the meantime, honestly, some great interviews coming up. Buck Johnson from the Counterflow podcast will be coming on. I believe. I hate to say things ahead of time because things happen, things fall through. But if not next week, then the following week we'll get Buck on here, and really interested in talking to Buck and getting his perspective on recent events and also the transformation that he's gone through in his life. Because I know Buck's become a Christian too, as well in the past few years. So, all right, well, all of that and more coming up next week. In the meantime, if you guys like this show, join the Pride on Patreon or over on Locals. Check us out. You get our bonus content. Be sure to subscribe to our new politics podcast feed. You can find that anywhere podcasts are found. I'll be back next week. In the meantime, always remember to keep your head up and the fires of liberty burning.